All right, so top of the agenda, Robbo.
Yep.
The contract dispute between Lance Franklin and the Sydney Swans. Tell me how should I be interpreting this? How real do you think, as we sit here, the prospect that Buddy and the Swans are together for the final time over the next few months?
It's quite possible that Lance Franklin might only have 6 games of football left in his AFL career, Gerard. I wouldn't be writing it if it was fanciful, okay? And you're not going to ask me my sources or anything like that. Lance Franklin wants a certain amount of money, and Sydney, at this stage, are not going to give him that amount of money. And if that happens, Lance Franklin will retire, or Lance Franklin will consider going to a third club. As I sit here right now, I reckon that probably the option is he would be retiring. And Sydney will be very upset with me for writing this story and saying what I'm saying right now, Gerard, but I'm deadly serious about this story. And already the fallout always is, Gerard. Who got the story? How did he get it? That's a part of the story, and it's usually the narrative of those who didn't get the story, and I'm part of that when I don't get the story. But let's park that. Just deal with the story, and that is the story, Gerard. And there's a real possibility. I can't wait to talk to Jordan Lewis when he comes in here tonight. He's a good friend of Franklin's. But you can tell by listening to me. I'm not being wishy-washy here. I'm not. So it's a really big story. It's got to end at some stage. He's just finished his 9 years.
Yeah, so it's the $10 million 9-year contract.
9-year contract.
Like, it would be such a mind bender if at the end of that contract it was a financial dispute that saw them either part company or finish their
Maybe it's
days.
been a business all along, Gerard. Maybe it has. The other speculation is that the Swans have denied that, and I'm not party to this, but it's pretty hard if you're in footy to ignore it because people are passing so much opinion on it, is Dustin Martin to Richmond. Now, I tried to contact Ralph Carr this week. He's in Los Angeles. My understanding is he hasn't spoken to the Sydney Swans. The Swans on the weekend said, Gerard, we are not in this game, OK? But you're not in the game until you're in the game.
Yep.
OK? I'm not saying... So, to get Martin, who's on about $1.3 million on his contract at the moment, Gerard, they've got to find salary cap room. So they're taking... What's Franklin, $1 million roundabout?
More. I'm sure the last year was more.
OK, so they're wiping a hell of a lot off him. To get Martin, they've got to have room in their salary cap, don't they? They've just got to have it. Maybe the Swans think, well, buddy, you don't deserve the money that you're asking for.
So if we did an objective measure of what's Franklin worth as a dollar figure next year?
Yeah, I don't know. I'll ask you, what do you've watched enough football, you watch the same amount of football as me. What do you think he's 35 goals, he kicked 51 last year, I think he's on 35 this year, equal leading the Sydney goal kicking with Isaac Heaney. The Coleman medal is on 51. Harry Mackay's on 36, 37. Everyone thinks Harry should be $1 million player and Franklin's 2 behind him. So what do you think?
I think he's a $600,000 to $700,000 player.
Well, my figures today that he was asking for, Gerard, was between $700,000 and $800,000.
Yeah.
And the Swans, my understanding and my belief is the Swans is around about $500,000. It's really funny because 2 weeks ago it was written up that the Swans' offer was about $400,000.
Right.
That was written up last week in the Fairfax papers. 400. Now, I've gone a little bit higher than that. But we just have to watch this space. But it's real, Gerard.
Do you think there'd be a significant market for him because he's a speculative 1 or 2 years, isn't he? Anywhere else?
He's a speculative 2. He's reasonably placed for next year.
Yep.
The way he's going at the moment. Again, I'll ask Jordan, where would Jordan think he would be a good fit if he left? Do you think there would be a club interested at $7 to $750
No,
for Franklin?
I think that would be hard. I think a little bit less than that, and I could get you a pool of teams.
Collingwood?
I could see
Essendon?
him at Collingwood. I could see him at Gold Coast. But
They're going to be... They're not... The Gold
they're
Coast...
such hypotheticals. I can't,
But the world...
with it from the moment you put it up.
But that's why it's a big story.
Yeah, no, I'm not disputing that.
And hypotheticals exist in this footy world. Half the conversation in football's about hypotheticals, isn't it? What about this? What about that? What do you think of that? Is Dustin Martin leaving? Is Dustin Martin staying? Anyway, this is I don't know, a fly in the ointment. Is that what they're saying?
It's a fascinating watch, given that
a
we're
bird.
mid-July. Yeah,
We're at round 18, Gerard.
Point.
We're at round 18.
All right, that's a good friend of yours, Buddy Franklin. Could you see Buddy at a third club finishing his career?
Oh, it's hard, and I was sitting upstairs when Robbo made mention of it, and I'm a little bit like you. It's hard to wrap your head around what's been reported, and it's sort of come of a little bit of a shock to me.
How would you not know? You're a good mate of his, aren't you?
Yeah, well, I think so. He was in my wedding party, and I was one of the 3 players that went to his wedding, so I would imagine I'd be in his inner circle. But like Eddie knows, any footballer, they don't discuss contracts or where they might go with any of their close friends. It's a bit of a taboo subject.
Is it really?
I mean, even when I was at Hawthorn and there was clearly stuff going on behind the scenes when he went to Sydney, I only knew the day before that he was going. So it's not something that you discuss with mates.
So you won't ask him, or you will ask him?
No, and my wife says it to me all the time. Why don't you ask more questions of other people? But I really think if people want my advice, they will ask me the question about the advice in terms of the situation they're going through. So I'm not a person that pries. If he came to me and said, what should I do in this situation? Absolutely, I would offer my advice. But
just pretend he has. What's your advice?
Well, my advice would be that I'd never got paid $500, so I'd be
Take it.
I'm trying to work out what the issue is.
Very good.
But, I mean, Eddie and I were talking upstairs before. He's still arguably in the top 5 key forwards in the competition. So what's he worth? I mean, we're happy to pay 20-year-olds, 21-year-olds who haven't yet proved themselves well and above what they've earned to be paid on potential. He's shown year on year to be able to command big dollars, and he's still showing to me and I think the wider football community that he still can command top dollar.
Is he worth $750,000?
He's still taking the number 1 defender, like we spoke about. And I guess, you know, he puts bums on seats, you know, especially with stuff outside of footy. He's very marketable. He's probably one of the marketable players in the AFL.
In the history of the AFL.
In the history of the AFL. So if he's still playing good football, and I'm like, Geordie, I haven't been paid that
Come on.
I'll take that and run.
On national TV.
I did not lie on national
They
TV.
laughed at me and agreed with me. They didn't question what I was saying.
But if he's playing,
Liar.
I'm not lying. But if he's playing great footy, he deserves everything that's coming his way.
Are you... so you both finished your last... There's slightly different circumstances. You're at a club you hadn't played for. You went back to a club that you had played for. For the... I don't know whether it's closure or the neat finish. Would you be hopeful that Buddy and the Swans did come to an arrangement and finish together, or doesn't it matter?
No, I think so. I think, you know, he's been there through a period of time where they've had a lot of transition. So it's been a period where a lot of young kids have come in, and I've been fortunate enough to be out at dinner with Bud and a few of the young kids have been there, and they idolise him. They look up to him. So I think he feels a sense of responsibility of trying to educate and help these kids to become premiership players. So if he was able to hang around for another year or 2 years, this side has the potential to be that team, and I think it would be fulfilling for not only he but the players that he's helped.
What if he went to another club? What would it do for young players if he went to...
What if he goes back to Hawks?
Imagine...
Going back home to Hawks, where it all started, finish it off where it started.
What would that do to Mitch Lewis and young Kosicki, and how much would that help them in their development as footballers?
I don't think so. No, I think they're on the right path, and I think if he was to go to a team like that, it may upset the combination of the two.
And Collingwood, if Fremantle, they're going to get... If Lobb leaves, can he fit their home state?
I mean, when you were talking upstairs, we were trying to reel off a few sides, and the obvious ones for me, who we speak about, and they're crying out for not only a key position player, but a very good key position player, at Collingwood and Fremantle, the teams that I would consider to be good, solid finals teams that now are looking for that edge come 2023.
Because he wouldn't want to go to a rebuilding side.
No, he wouldn't.
No, there's no point.
No point. So I'd rather go somewhere where they're in contention.